The family that sold me out at gate 22. Check your bag, sweetie, you don't have a ticket anymore. That was the last thing my mother said to me before she boarded a flight home and left me stranded at a gate in Paris. She scanned 3 boarding passes, hers, my father's, my sister Chloe's. Mine was gone, completely missing from the system. I grabbed her arm, but Chloe shoved me back and slid a heavy passport into my open bag. Seconds later, airport security alarms went off. Armed officers surrounded me, shouting orders in French. I looked back, begging for help, but my family didn't even flinch. They just walked down the jet bridge and let me get arrested holding a stolen passport. I sat in a glass holding cell that smelled like industrial cleaner. Most people would be screaming for a lawyer. I didn't cry. As a forensic financial analyst, my whole job is staring at a mess of numbers until the hidden truth surfaces. So I looked at my own situation the same way, like a balance sheet. My mother took my passport, Chloe planted a stolen one, and this exact document triggered a mandatory 48-hour identity hold. Why today of all days? Then it hit me, my grandfather's trust, north of $2 million, was set to vest tomorrow at noon, and buried in the fine print was an absence clause. If the primary beneficiary couldn't be reached within 24 hours of vesting, control temporarily passed to next of kin. My parents weren't ruining my vacation. They needed me gone for exactly 48 hours so they could legally seize my inheritance. It was a brilliant, ugly plan, and I was locked in a foreign cell while they sipped champagne in first class. The offer. The security door buzzed open, and a man in a tailored charcoal suit walked in, moving with the kind of ease that only comes from owning the room. His name was Marcus Vance. He ran a major investment firm out of New York, and he had a serious problem. A business partner skimming millions, and his own auditors couldn't find the leak. Marcus knew my reputation for finding money people tried to hide. He didn't care about my family drama. He saw a resource. He offered me a contract and a way out. Friends at the embassy could clear me as a consultant in 20 minutes. If I flew back on his private jet and found his missing money, he'd guarantee my freedom. I counted $40,000 plus full legal coverage if my family fought me over the inheritance. Marcus gave me the cold smile of a man closing a good deal. I didn't walk out of that glass box a victim. I walked out a business partner. My family thought they'd ruined me. They'd actually handed me the keys to the big leagues. Hepchapot. The long con on Marcus's private jet, I reviewed the financial file his team had built, and my heartbreak curdled into something colder. This wasn't their first betrayal. I remembered being 22, watching my father Richard cry at our kitchen table because he owed a dangerous bookie $30,000. I sold my first car the next morning to save him. He never even said thank you. Years later, my mother Diane forced me to give up my full ride scholarship so Chloe could find herself in Europe. They put me on graveyard shifts to cover my own tuition and called it a compliment. Said it proved how strong I was. I wasn't their daughter. I was their insurance policy. 29 years training me to fix their problems. And the moment a real payout was on the table, they cashed me in. They thought taking my passport would leave me helpless. They forgot they were the ones who taught me how to survive with nothing. I opened Marcus's laptop and started drafting incorporation papers for a shell company. They wanted fast money. I was going to build them a trap they couldn't resist. The trap. We landed in New York at sunrise, breezing past customs on Marcus's private clearance. In his office 40 floors up, I pulled up my mirrored cloud accounts and found Chloe's latest post. A tearful selfie claiming I'd had a breakdown in Paris and needed professional isolation. A calculated move, discredit me before I could say a word. Worse, my mother had already emailed the trust board a doctored police report claiming I was mentally unfit. They'd torched my reputation to unlock emergency funds. They genuinely believed I was crying in a French holding cell, with no idea I was watching every move they made in high definition from a Manhattan penthouse. I told Marcus my parents were drowning in gambling debt, which meant they needed cash fast. So we built Vantage Holdings, a fake boutique investment firm sitting on $50 million in liquid capital. It looked like their financial rescue. It was actually a guillotine. We offered them a high-interest bridge loan collateralized against the trust. Since the trust was in my name, Vantage legally couldn't touch it, unless my current guardians signed a sworn affidavit, certifying I was legally incompetent. Marcus brought in a corporate attorney named Grant to make the call. We listened on speaker as Grant dialed my father. Richard's voice was tight, desperate for liquidity after unexpected delays at the trust. Grant said the firm could wire the loan immediately. They just needed a signed affidavit confirming my incapacity and their sole authority. My father didn't hesitate for a second. Greed ate through whatever was left of his conscience. He promised they'd sign that day. The reveal, 2 hours later, I watched my family through a one-way mirror in our Midtown office, pouring champagne to celebrate a payout that hadn't happened yet. They thought they'd won. I walked in. The room went dead silent. My mother's glass hit the floor. I told them that signing that affidavit meant 5 to 10 years in federal prison for fraud. Chloe tried to blackmail me, waving my stolen phone, claiming she'd downloaded Marcus's proprietary client files to end my career. I just smiled and pointed at the wall monitor. Security logs proved the data breach happened while my phone was locked in French police custody, meaning she'd just confessed to international cyber fraud, live, in front of witnesses. Marcus's attorney, a licensed notary, stamped the affidavit as evidence of federal bank fraud on the spot. 2 plainclothes detectives came through the side door and cut off any chance of running. Chloe dropped the phone. My parents froze, watching their entire plan collapse in real time. They came for my career and my inheritance. They left with nothing. The cuffs clicked in that silent room, and just like that, it was over. After 3 weeks later, I sat in a beautiful new corporate office, signing the paperwork to close out my contract with Marcus. We parted on mutual professional respect. My inheritance was completely secure. I used a small piece of it to buy a one-way first-class ticket back to Paris, to finish the vacation they stole from me. People love to say blood is thicker than water. That family is everything. Looking out over the New York skyline, I finally understood how wrong that saying really is.